everyone. Welcome to Location Weekly, your favorite podcast show of the week. This is episode number 668. We're recording on May the 7th. Brianna, how are you? What's going on?
I'm good. It's like spring turning summer here, and I'm excited about it. So nice weather, getting outside a little bit more, trying to take some walking calls. You know how that goes, right? Trying to multitask, but things are good. And yeah, it's a good time to be in New York. How are you?
Yeah, same. The weather's beautiful. I'm on a softball team. We've been practicing already out there, so we have a game next week. So, it's just good to be outside and kind of getting into it. So I'm happy about that too. So yeah, catching up, on still from all the stuff I missed while I was traveling, but it is good. Alrighty. Well, we have four stories we want to cover this week as usual, a variety of things. So I will let you kick it off and we'll go from there.
All right, so we're going to kick it off with a story from OpenBet. And if you don't know who OpenBet is, they are a sports betting platform. And they are adding to their portfolio of offerings with a new geolocation product. It's called OpenBet Locator. So, what does this do? It's built on Amazon Web Services. And really, it's going to enable the operators of, let's say, an app, for example, to locate, promote to, and monitor customers while they are remaining compliant or within regulatory requirements. So think of sports betting, for example, right? OpenBet's really looking to see Locator strengthen their offerings with its reputation as a leader in player protection and compliance. They also acquired a gaming software firm, NextCon, say that 5 times fast,
Yeah.
last year. So initially they're going to offer this in 2023. Sorry, listen to me. I'm reading two things at the same time. They acquired Necton in 2023, and initially they're going to offer this in North America. And it's going to have some different components, including player targeting for customer relationship management, fraud prevention, which is pretty standard, and then geofence management and location tracking. So apparently they have claimed to be, a leader in the global sports betting arena for over 25 years. And their main competitor, GeoComply, which I know pretty well when I was over at Digital Envoy for many years. That was one of our competitors in maybe the fraud space, right? But they work with the likes of FanDuel, DraftKings, so think of those use cases. But recently, GeoComply got their hands slapped a bit in court with XPoint winning a patent infringement lawsuit. So OpenBet is owned by Endeavor, which is going private. So something that's interesting is Endeavor Group Holdings. So Endeavor also is a majority owner of WWE, think wrestling, UFC, fighting. Nothing to do with tech, you would think, but there is definitely some like sports themed here, right? That they're staying in. And so they emerged Endeavor Group Holdings, that's transferring into a private company in 2025 with private equity firm Silver Lake, agreed to this deal worth $13 billion. So a lot of things like moving around, but some of the WWE, UFC through TKO Group are going to remain publicly traded and not be included in the privatization deal. So lots of moving parts. My summary here is that I think this is interesting bet to play in this space because now that sports betting has been largely democratized and also legalized mostly, I find it interesting that they're still like pushing this out. And I would have to dive into it to see like what is the total addressable market that's still here. But I think like it's an interesting bet for them to play. But obviously with them being in that space and maybe with some of these changes that have happened with GeoComply, maybe there's an opportunity for them to go in. So I know we had some similar offerings at Digital Element that are still available for these types of use cases, fraud prevention, localization, all of these different applications. So it's just interesting time to be like getting into this. And it seems really late to the game, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, not a lot to add here. I think the whole sort of mobile betting and gambling space is growing really fast right now. And so I think services, that handle the fraud piece or, out of territory piece, are a big thing right now. And obviously GeoComply has been in that for a long time. We've talked about others. So I think that there's still a lot of room for growth in this. So I think, from a market perspective, OpenBet is in a good spot, I would say. I also like that they built this on an AWS platform. With ground level, our my startup, we're also sitting on AWS there as well. And we've talked about some of the announcements, from them directly in terms of, opening up location capabilities, partnerships with here and others. So I think that being able to leverage, what AWS is offering from a geo and location capability perspective, I think is good, and nice to see that, platforms are emerging like OpenBet that are taking advantage of that. I don't have a lot to add to the going private perspective from Endeavor, but I think Endeavor, certainly is it's a good move for them in terms of having technology, that they control that is in-house as well. So I like it. All right.
Right.
Shifting over to our second story now, the FTC is at it again. We just talked a couple weeks ago about them announcing a settlement with OutLogic, and for the misuse of location data and selling it, in ways that they shouldn't have been. And they have basically applied the exact same, agreement pretty much to InMarket now, another player in the location ecosystem that, we know well. So they say that InMarket's failed to properly inform consumers about how it was collecting the data and how they're using the data, and that it would be combined with other data for targeted advertising. Obviously many companies are doing this in this space, and I think this just drills home that message that you have to do it in a way that is completely transparent to that end consumer. And so now, just like they did without Logic, they're prohibited now from selling, sharing, or licensing any precise location data and any product or service that categorizes or targets consumers based on sensitive location data. So yeah, I mean, they're at it again. And at the same time, just to add to this, they also came down with a whole bunch of fines against the mobile operators, also for selling access to their consumer location data. So they fined T-Mobile $80 million. Sprint, which merged with T-Mobile is getting a $12 million fine. AT&T's been fined $57 million. Verizon $47 million, and on and on and on. And so this all came down in the last week as well. So the FTC's hard at and fighting the misuse and selling of location data without proper consent. Thoughts?
Yeah, the FTC is just like they're dropping the hammer right now, They are putting it down. I feel like everybody who's in the location space is like walking through the Game of Thrones alleyway with shame, shame, shame being yelled at them. It is just like it's intense, right? It's like who's on the block next. I do like that there is I feel like there has long been the need for some of these mobile carrier providers to get a little justice done, because I think they've been taking advantage and double dipping across their consumers for a long time. I think that the whole selling of location data it's intense. A lot of these guys are small time players, right? And this is like a really hard deal for them to come back from. But I think doing the right thing is important. So get your stuff in shape, get your location data, compliance, be ready or else. There's been a lot of
Exactly.
warnings, like shape up
Yeah,
now. All right. Well, if you're not running from the FTC, maybe you just like to run to get exercise. And Adidas is now turning their digital out of home totems, as they call them, right? Or kind of those, you think about like the bus stops and those points in Stockholm that you see into running checkpoints. This is fun. I like this campaign. And Accenture Song in Sweden has partnered with Adidas to launch what they call the Billboard Run. So this happened just last month. They just wrapped it up, and basically it was this innovative outdoor campaign that was, just like I would say tapping into the passion that people have for running and getting exercise across the city. So what they did is they had these dynamic checkpoints for this race experience. So it was like, how can they challenge runners to explore new routes and push their limits? And apparently, data showing that there's more runners now than ever, which is interesting because I think that we're also seeing how like there's a lot more unhealthy people than ever too. So I guess both things are growing at the same time, which is exciting to see that there's some healthy movement happening, right? But fresh running experiences is growing. And so they wanted to leverage the city's billboards as a way to do this. So basically, what participants could do is they could kind of see how fast they could get from one checkpoint or one billboard to another one and to achieve the fastest times and then dominate their chosen routes, right? So they would connect their smartphones to one of the starting billboards. There were four of them located across a few different districts. And then they had real-time updates that were happening within a connected app that would track each runner's progress. And then the results were displayed at the finish line in T Centralin Metro Station. So the winners had a chance to get some exciting prizes, some marathon tickets, Adidas shoes, 10,000 SEK worth of exclusive Adidas gear, and then some other notable local running groups were already like embracing the challenge together and adding some competition there. So I think this is really fun. I loved how they brought in like digital out of home. They made it gamify. They got people involved, and I love that it's about being outside and being healthy. And just promoting, going back to the shoes, obviously it's promoting their brand awareness as well. So I think for me, this like checks all the boxes of what an exciting brand awareness campaign should be. And I think it's super engaging. And my guess is that there was probably a lot of like social sharing and passing this along to friends. So I think this is a really cool campaign. I'd love to see something like this here in the city.
Yeah, completely agree with you. I think it's very well put together and executed. And if I think if I'm Adidas, for example, and I'm already doing out of home advertising or bus shelter advertising, that's one thing, right? And there's a certain number of eyeballs or visitors that are passing by it that are exposed to that. But if I can actually drive traffic to it, in a sort of fit for the brand perspective in terms of, hey, we sell running shoes and let's do a thing with runners and make them come to our billboards essentially. I think it's brilliant. I think it's such a creative way to use the advertising you're probably already spending money on anyways, and you're just kind of increasing the exposure around it, and to your point, social sharing tied to that as well. So I think I love the gamification of it. I love the brand fit for it. I love that they're basically getting double bang for their out of home buck in this context. So I think it's very well done. Accenture's song, I had to look them up. I didn't even know Accenture had a group called Song. I mean, obviously we know who Accenture is, but yeah, this is apparently like their creative technology division. That's just coming up with cool tech mashups. So would love to see what else they're doing because I think this is well executed. So yeah, let's follow for more there. But great job by Adidas and the group here at Accenture Song. So nice work. Okay, final story we want to talk about this week is a combination of a company called Ivee, which is spelled Ivee, Chicago-based. They call themselves a software mobility company, and they've launched something what they're calling Smart Taxi, and this is in partnership with New York City-based taxi company called Creative Mobile Technology, CMT. So this isn't super innovative. It's not a world's first or anything like that. We're talking about putting advertising in the back of taxi cabs and ride shares. So we've all ridden around in New York taxis. We've all seen, the screens there. The incentive here is to rideshare drivers is a monthly commission. They can make about $100 a month just off of ads in the back of their cars. Not sure how it works for the taxi driver side of it, since those are, obviously not independent operators. They're usually part of a fleet and with a company. But some interesting components in terms of how this is delivered. So they say they have full passenger control. So in the Ivee Smart Taxi, passengers can choose the content they view or the music that they listen to. So that's kind of interesting. They have premium content as well, which enables a passengers as passengers enter the cab, not just choosing like any content, but they can choose from more than 20 different networks, including ABC, Bloomberg, and other popular services. You can join your friends and sing karaoke on your way out for the night. You can learn a new language on the way to the airport. So I think some interesting, sort of content capabilities here that I certainly haven't experienced as someone who travels a lot and takes a lot of Ubers and a lot of taxi cabs from airports to hotels and meetings. I certainly have a lot of exposure to this. Um, and they have personalization technology that can also give you information as to where your trip starts, the time of day, all kinds of other newsfeed information, interactive maps, so that it's all about engaging you in this downtime while you're sitting there between one destination and another. So I like it in terms of what they're going for. They say they get their ads offer six times higher CTRs than Google, YouTube, and Facebook, two times more than completed video views than YouTube and Facebook. So looks like the metrics are good. We'll see. It's a new network, but I like the capabilities at least that they're bringing from a content point of view. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this a few times with like different content that you can view in the back and games you can play. I think it's a great interactive opportunity. I don't know. I think of myself as like as a taxi driver in New York City. Is $100 a month really like enough for the headaches? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, right? So I don't know about like the margins on this business, but I do think that this is a great, a great way for that one-to-one advertising. You have a very captive audience for the time of the trip, right? So I think that it's you're definitely gonna have like eyeballs seen. So it's good, a good strategy. And like you said, it's nothing new. We've seen it before. But yeah, obviously it's still a thing. It's not going
Still a
anywhere, so
thing.
just improving it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, that's our show for this week. Four stories there. Thank you, everybody, for listening, watching, and tuning in each week. We appreciate it. If you have story ideas, please reach out to us with feedback or comments or things that we should be covering. Give us some likes and love on whatever podcast channel or social media you're consuming this on. We would appreciate that. We'll be back next week with another show. But until then, have a great week, and we'll talk to you all soon. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.